There we go. Whatever reason, OBS reset my microphone and disabled it. Now we are back. As I was saying, it's been a while since I've been here doing any type of reviews or anything like that. So, I don't know. To be honest with you, 100% honest, I almost didn't come back because I enjoyed the break off, minus the being sick and everything else that's happened. It's been nice. It's been very, very nice. But here we are back doing Dead by Daylight reviews. Yeah, my sound's down. I mean, honestly, I don't need any type of sound for a Dead by Daylight review, so it doesn't matter, but this is gonna suck for the future. If I do this, can I fix this with this? There we go. OBS just completely reset. I mean, it updated the other day, but I didn't think it was gonna reset everything that I put. My scenes seem to be alright for the most part. There's a couple that's been broken, but for the most part, I guess we're good. As long as it's actually recording, you know. Yeah, we're good. Alright. Hopping back into these. Like I said, I'm not going to be doing these long, thought out, like super long 3-hour reviews anymore. I'm going to be giving credit where credit is due. And if there's no work or effort being put into a particular concept, I'm not going to put much in myself. Pirate Killer, the Captain. Very short, very sweet, and very straight to the point. Um, New status effect. Deafen. Already exists. Not a new status effect, buddy. Skip that one, go to the next one. Very short, not very well thought out, not really well planned. Kind of meh. The Blob. This ought to be interesting. You might want to cite your sources, or Mandy Talks will clap your particular picture and post. So there's literally nothing here except for pictures and where it came from. Instead of saying the blob could become humanoid and change between blob mode and humanoid mode, why not actually explain this and implement this into the game? Talking about flubber monsters, blob monsters, things like that. It's just an amalgamation of flesh. It's just an amalgamation. People has made amalgamation monsters. On to the next. The Perished Killer concept. This is a Dark Soul boss. Very short. Not a lot of time thought into it. Again, trucking on through. I only really want to waste my time nowadays reviewing things that are actually worthwhile. If I ever have an extra day of like no content, we can go back in and do like Dead by Daylight creation shorts. And I can find all of these short ones. Lycanthrope, reused idea. Completely short. And all it is just people saying, you know, really? Really? People are advertising on other people's posts now. Again, instead of people just saying, hey, bring a werewolf into this, how about you get off your lazy ass and implement that shit on your own and actually make it worthwhile? When you're presenting an idea, you want to present an idea in a fashion that woos not only the developers, but the audience and the players that play the game. Because if you win the devs and they're like, oh, this is nice, but the audience is like, it's shit, they're not going to implement it because nobody wants to play that shit. If you woo the audience and the devs are like, that's a shit idea, the devs have precedence over everything. So they probably aren't going to implement it. As we see with a lot of these different reviews that have been posted that have been more popular, like Springtrap, for example. How they've been throwing Springtrap out for years and years and years and years, and the audience or players want it, but Dead by Daylight's like, nah. The devs are like, mm-mm. Whether it's licensing or other issues or whatever is happening, the answer's still no to this point. Maybe in the future, who knows? But to this point, it's still no. So what you need to do is you need to wow the devs and you need to wow the player base. You coming in and saying, I'd like to see a lycanthrope killer. It's not going to work. You can get 1,000,000 people behind you. It's still not going to work. Nobody's even mentioning what kind of lycanthrope. There was a guy that did a review in the past that I did, and he mentioned a specific form of lycanthrope. He put it all into a review, and it was decent. But you generally are just saying, I want this in game. You're wasting your time. This is a creation forum. This is made for creation. This is not feedback or suggestions. This is creation, where the people that are creatively gifted can post actual good ideas. Stop flooding the fucking forum with your bullshit. Get it out of here, put it in the correct form. Put it on suggestions and ideas. Get it out of this form. It's not for here. New killer, whatever OC is. I guess original content or something. I don't know. The overgrown. First word. I hope that's not original. A chapter or original content or anything, because the first thing you say are pustula flowers, which is all about the blight. So it's not original anything. You're literally just going off of something that already exists. A pumpkin. It is a pumpkin monster. Essentially a pumpkin chimera is what this is. Or hydra, whichever one you want to prefer. It's like a pumpkin, hydra, and chimera mixed together. Got the 3 heads, like a hydra, but it's got the chimera body. At least you cited your source. Um, very short. Very short, powerless, very short, everything else. Not really well thought out. Perk wise, I'm not going to go over perks, not going to go over Mori because your original concept's bad. If you can't put in the work for your original concept, why should I waste my time looking at perks and add-ons and everything else? They're all going to be short-lived, not well thought out. There is the overgrown if you are interested. Full trickster crossplay by behavior, not really worried about it. Legacy idea by behavior. We'll see. Collectibles. You have no clue what 2016 DBD is like if you think 2022 DBD is remotely comparable. Yeah, it is very different from back when Dead by Daylight first came out to later on. Sorry, we've said time and time again that legacy cosmetics will not come back or be made available again. This is true. They have said that. But yeah, there were very, very different games from back then of well forward. Besides people just obviously just wanting to shit talk the actual game because this person's never even Probably even played the game back then. I'm pretty sure he just watched a YouTube video and now he's just saying what the YouTuber said. But I wouldn't say Dead by Daylight was hellishly unbalanced because there wasn't really anything available back then. And the blood point earn rate was an earn rate that forced you to actually play the game to get shit. Nowadays, if you run the right add-ons and everything else and you play, a pretty good game, you can get up to like 30,000. If it's an event, up to 70,000 blood points in one game. Huge amount. Even if you play, a crap game, generally you can pull out about 15,000 with the right stuff. And if you play like a bad game and you're out like at the beginning, you'll still get like 1,500 blood points and all of that. Back then, you were lucky if you got 1,500 blood points if you were a flawless player. Like a pro. You got 1,500 blood points, you're like, hey, cool. But you gotta bear in mind that back then there wasn't this huge setup of killers and huge setup of survivors and things like that. They were trying to make what they had worthwhile. So the blood points have inflated. Inflation has taken place of the blood points as more content's been added, more blood points have been added to the end, and things have been fluffed up. But the game in the past versus the game now was a little bit, well, I can't say a little bit, a lot of different. They were correct about that. And anybody who's an OG that played the game back then, you know the difference from the way the game is actually played to cosmetic to the tech that people use nowadays. It was all different back then. And like any other game, it's evolved from being an indie game to a better indie game. You could almost call it like a triple or double A game, honestly. You could at this point, it's been around so much. It's went from indie game to double A game. It hasn't hit triple A yet because, well, it'd take a lot of polishing, a lot of development, and a lot of money, essentially, that they're not going to ever get to pull it to the triple A. But it can easily be called double A. I wouldn't call it an indie game anymore. Those of you that are familiar with indie games, yeah, it was that bad, like the other sort of polished indie games back in the day. Heck, even coming out now. It was around about that, plain old Dead by Daylight. Indie game, small place, wanted to make this hide and seek, like cat and mouse type of game. That was the whole thing of it. And now you have, well, what we have today, which makes you really appreciate the time that they put into it if you played in the past. Like all of us from the beginning to now, we shake our heads and we get pissed off when behavior makes, a dumb update or buffs the wrong killer or something like that, obviously. But, we're just old people that, or old players, I should say, not necessarily people that see things and we're just like, oh, come on, behavior. You've tried this before. Now you're trying it again. 3 years later, that shit didn't work out right the first time. But, fuck it. Let's see what you can do. But I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta evolve with the times. And if you don't really like the game, like 100% legitimately don't like the game, and it's not part of your job or something like that, don't play it. Like, I can't stand Rocket League. I can't stand it. Every time I play that shit, I fucking end up getting mad. Because either the opponents are just straight up just demo hungry, or the teammates are just dumb, or I'm playing bad the occasional time because I'm tilted or something else, and it just goes downhill. There's really no uphill play anymore when it comes to Rocket League. I've reached the end of the line. You know, I've touched into SSL. I'm not gonna keep it because I'm not playing scripted Rocket League every day of my life. That's boring to me. That's why I never stay in SSL. I played scripted Rocket League till I touched SSL, and then I said, fuck that shit, I'm out. And I went back down to GC3, and I'm chilling there. Because at least in GC3, they don't have that full mentality of completely scripted play. There's still mistakes that happen. People still try things, and try to have some sort of uniqueness. SSL, it's mostly flippery sets, shots, or delayed flicks or anything like that. And they always put the ball, in areas where if you're at a position, they put it to where you can't get to it. It's very scripted play. If somebody's coming towards you, you pass it to your teammate where you know exactly where they are because it's scripted play. And you do the same play, same shots, everything like that. SSL. Sometimes you'll find a fun SSL lobby where nobody really cares, but it's rare and few in between to actually find a good lobby. And the higher up in SSL you go, you'll eventually get into the pro territory where they only get on when they're recording videos. So they're, not necessarily try harding, but they're playing a lot more scripted and things like that because they're trying to make content and videos. Not fun playing with pro players. Everybody's like, oh, I would like to go up against them, Oh, yeah, it'd be fun doing all of that. And it's like, it's not any different than playing against any other scripted Rocket League player. Unless they have, a unique style that you just don't see regular players use. Newsflash, there aren't a lot of people that have unique styles. And when you run up with them, generally, if you run into a pro that is an SSL or GC or anything like that, they play like everybody else. You're not going to see them use their unique style or anything like that unless they're doing content for a video or a tournament or some shit like that. Regular games, you're not going to see that unique style. You're not going to see, all of them going out and freestyling and doing all the craziness. You'll see like double touches and things like that, but you're not going to see their play styles like they're doing in their videos unless they're recording a specific video doing that. So even if you do run into them and put in the work to get SSL, you're probably not going to get the game that you think that you're going to get from them. And as you get there, you see that, hey, the pros that I like and all of that, they're still human. Then you start to realize that most of their content that I see on YouTube, at least, is edited and heavily edited. You only see when they're attacking and things like that, and when they're making good plays and all of that, and they cut out the gunk of, if they throw away the ball or something bad happens or anything like that, you'll see the jump skips. And you get so used to seeing jump skips that you don't realize that, hey, most of the game when they were acting stupid and doing bad things have just been now cut out and gone. Same with Dead by Daylight videos, especially the shorts that you see a lot nowadays. You only see the good part of that short. You don't see what happens after that short. There's that legacy post if you wanted to take the time to read it. I was just adding some background to that so people didn't have to pause the video necessarily. The Horde, Left 4 Dead, Licensed Paragraph Killer Rework. And all he did was literally say all of the Left 4 Dead people and essentially say what they do. Yeah. Even though this post is extremely long, it's not very well thought out. You got to keep in mind from using your own brain and incorporating things efficiently and interestingly versus grabbing things from another game and just saying what they do and implementing them into the game. I don't want to see the smoker implemented into the Dead by Daylight exactly how the smoker is. If I wanted to fuck with the smoker, I would just play, Left 4 Dead 2. you know, or Back 4 Blood in some of these cases. I would just play that shit and go up against them and have a time there. Now, the thing about this is, especially from particularly the smoker, I'm just going to go over one thing to show you what I'm talking about. The very top one. I ain't being selective or anything like that. I just pre-read it and all of that, so I could summarize this for you. Smoker charges tongue survivor and snares and pulls towards smoker. If the survivor gets attacked, they get released from the tongue. And if you hit the survivor while they're being pulled in, you get the deep wound status effect. If the survivor's injured, they'll get downed. Now, smoker. Tongue goes out, grabs survivor, pulls them in. The only way that they can escape is if a survivor helps them escape. The smoker cannot break pallets, breakable walls. The smoker will play its bacteria string version when controlled. Problem with this, and I know it's a character that wants you to have different zombies spawned around the trial that you can take over each and every one of these whenever you're playing. Problem with that, if the smoker grabs somebody, just like in Left 4 Dead, that person cannot escape without any type of help. One, they already have somebody called the, Death Slinger, that does this. He has a chain. It hits you with the chain. You can get behind an object and break the chain unless they're running some god add-ons, and you can escape from it. A survivor can walk through the chain and break it. You can escape from it fairly easy if you know what you're doing and they're not running god add-ons. Easy to get away from a Death Slinger. Unless you're just running out in the open and then, you're kind of screwed. This is exactly what the Death Slinger does. It is sort of what the smoker does. I mean, obviously, smoker grabs you, he pulls you in, he holds you, and then you get clapped by the other zombies and everything else because you're not able to fight back. But this is already implemented in the game as the Death Slinger. So you implementing this smoker, you need to find a more unique way to follow the smoker instead of saying exactly what it does in Left 4 Dead 2 and then implementing that exactly what it says by description in the Dead by Daylight like that. Make it unique. Make it decent, Don't just say what it does. Make it have extra effects. You're taking it out of its world where it's just a mutated zombie, essentially. And you're bringing it into the entity's world, which bestows extra powers and extra abilities on a particular killer as they get pulled over. Bestow power onto all of these different units and change how they basically function. Keep them, around about the same of what they are so people don't get mad, but change them. Act like you're making a Left 4 Dead 3 and give them additional mutations and other things to make them more unique. This is why I say things like this ain't thought out and why I don't take the time to go through and look at all of this. All of this says is the same thing that they do in Left 4 Dead. The same thing. You can take the time to read that if you want. Same thing it does in Left 4 Dead. They just add in deep wound status effects and things like that. It's not what we're looking for in a crossover. For example, Michael Myers. Michael Myers is known as a stalking killer, but Michael Myers, they give him power the more he stalks till he gets the evil within 3 and then he fucks shit up for about a minute. Regular Michael Myers has no type of power or anything. He just walks around killing everything from his starting point to Laurie Strode. That's it. They made him unique. The pig. The pig who's known about, doing those Saw games and things like that. The pig is known as, she does the unfair Saw games. Jigsaw always gives you a chance to escape. Pig doesn't. She makes you go through this trial, then she ends you. It fits perfectly in with the Dead by Daylight theme, but they made it unique by having her crouch. Get rid of her, stealth and all that, like in the movie somewhat, but they incorporate it into a rush attack where you can go in, get that hit, things like that. They gave her the reversed bear traps, which is a Saw themed thing. Then they added the boxes as a way to escape the reversed bed traps. So the survivor doesn't have to, like search inside of themselves or cut themselves open or anything crazy like that. They just gotta reach into the box of either barbed wires or needles or whatever the hell's in there. I think it's barbed wire in the Dead by Daylight. Attached to alarms and all of that to play the game, but it also keeps Amanda's unfairness, or the pig's unfairness, to where if she wants to tunnel you out and completely clap your cheeks while you're playing the game, like the actual pig does, she can just knock you down with a trap on you and then hook you. While also keeping it balanced while you're being chased by that particular killer, your timer doesn't go down, so you're not just running away until the timer gets you. And there are exceptions to that situation, but it stays to the pig being, the second Jigsaw making people play Saw games concept, but it makes her unique in what she does. Ambushes, the hidden blades and all the other things, to how she acts. Freddy, they use his nightmare world, which is the base of where Freddy exists, obviously. But he's also inside of the entity's realm, so he can exist in both realms now. He used to not be able to, but the entity has upgraded him. When people are asleep, they can see his dream traps, all the traps that he's sitting. You can see or hear the lullaby. He gets rid of his terroritis, but you can hear the lullaby. He gets rid of his stain, etc., etc., and you can wake yourself up. Also, dream palettes and everything else that pops in. Now, it's not 100% Freddy, there aren't hands coming out of walls, and, he's not teleporting. Well, I mean, he can teleport from gin to gin, but he's not teleporting all around you and terrorizing you and making it OP. They implemented Freddy in a way while nerfing his power heavily, but they also made him a usable character. Because if they pulled Freddy straight from The Nightmare on Elm Street, as soon as a survivor falls asleep, they're fucking dead. There wouldn't be any mercy, no playing around and things like Freddy did. They would just down you and go. But when you're awake, Freddy can't interact with you. So the longer you stay awake, then you're good. So it's a very unique balance where if Freddy hits you, you instantly go into the dream realm and you fall asleep essentially. And you get more affected by Freddy's powers. It's a very unique balance on how they did that. They changed the way Freddy works, yes, but they also incorporated in the way that made it work and gave him unique things like the dream snares and the teleport between generators and things like that to still give you that Freddy feeling. This is just copying and pasting, essentially, and then trying to do this almost cutting the wound and stitching on a new part. You're cutting off the Left 4 Dead and trying to stitch on a Dead by Daylight arm while trying to make everything look the same. We don't want the same. We want the killers we want to see. We want it to be similar, but we want it to be exciting, spectacular. Left 4 Dead killer concept, the Horde. This is just what I looked at. This is by Pyman. Wait. That wasn't two back to back, was it? Ah, I see. So this one's the one in the past, and this one's the one where you reworked it. My question is why create two posts and then bring both posts to light? You could have easily made this post, since that one's back in August, made this post and then link that post in for people to see. Or you could have just revisited this post and then changed. Go back to the post, copy pasta, this into that, and then sent it instead of making two posts. I mean, it's fine making two posts because that one was obviously in August, but what's the point of bringing this post back to light when you literally just posted this post? Now you have two posts. I don't know. People do things that I don't understand, is basically what I'm saying. DBD killer ideas. Now, this person specifically state it's just killer ideas. These are not killers. This is not a concept. This is just an idea. That's it. So you're not gonna expect much. Just an idea. Ghosty Boy says, this is mine. Apparently not, because your ass got banned. I don't know how you're able to post still. How is he able to post up the... Join September 20. Last active October 20. Oh, okay. I didn't look at the date. Well, due to the law of inheritance, whatever the hell this interaction was, it all belongs to this guy now. My dude got banned. I don't know what he did to get banned. It's probably being toxic on somebody's post and went too far. Why I always tell Critty to calm down, because if anybody reports you, they will ban you. I don't know. Pretty sure Critty's mad anyway. But I had to say what had to be said. If he's the type of guy that can't get over what I said, be mature about it, and then come back and talk like a regular adult, then it is what it is. It was nice having you around, and if you are gone, you're gone. But if you're expecting an apology or something from me, or maybe you're busy, whatever. But just on the case that you are expecting an apology or statement from me, only thing I can say is if you were mad at me, kind of get over it. You know what you did, even though I've asked you not to. But like I said, if we can't be adults about it, move on and keep talking about things, then don't want you there anyway. If you can get over it, then cool. If you're busy, cool. But if you are mad, then stay mad, stay away. I'm too old. There's Mandy again. I'm excited to have the map visual rework. Yes, I said visual, not balance. That's funny. I do think Haddonfield does need a visual rework. It looks very incomplete as it does now, considering, you have maps like Midwich and things like that. Gideon Meat Plant needs to have a rework too. It looks very cartoony and not very well hashed out as well. I mean, there's a lot of maps that need, a passing through. You can tell when the maps were implemented, they were just placeholders. People played them and then they were like, fuck it. Player base is playing them. Let's just leave them there. But now they have the ability to deactivate maps and work on them individually. They definitely need to pull a significant portion of maps and add in a lot more detail and possibly change some things around. That's been something that's been due for years now. I'm glad they're finally getting on it. Especially Haddonfield. It was very base textures. There wasn't anything special about it. It was all just basic. It's a basic bitch map. I'm not going to talk about balancing and glitches and things like that, but cosmetic wise, it was very subpar. So if they are doing cosmetics on it, I'm very happy and very for that. It looks so bad. And I would love to see Haddonfield actually look like an actual well polished map, To actually come in there and be like, damn, this actually looks like a subdivision or a street or, a city. Well, I guess it's not a city. It'd be either a subdivision or a street. All the buildings kind of don't make sense. Is generally all the streets and all of that, all the blocks and all the houses on a particular street are going to be similar in design and things like that because, well, people like things to look all the same, and anything that's different gets punished. And you can look anywhere around areas like that. Most buildings within the same area will look the same in some shape or form. There are exceptions, like literally down the street from me, there is a castle. Yes, actually fully built, fully maintained medieval castle that I think somebody lives in. I haven't been there in a while. Maybe it's been finally sold or something. But no, I have a fully functioning castle with a drawbridge and, the works right down the street from me. It's got a black topped driveway leading all the way up to it. Once you get to the castle, it's just castle. It's been there. It's always been there since I came here. I don't know the history on it or anything like that because I really haven't cared that much to find out. No, I haven't been inside of it because, well, I was a kid back then, and kids don't think about just going and knocking and say, "Hey, can I see the inside of your place?" And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna inconvenience somebody because I want to see the inside of their house. There's probably some sort of pictures or Facebook or some shit that has them. But yes. It's also why I don't show the general area that I live in. Because there are landmarks around me that stand out. There are one, two, three, four. There's four huge landmarks and one unfortunate news report that most of the United States knows about right now about the general area that I live by. That you could narrow down where I live at almost immediately. Six. So there's six things that you can easily triangulate my position. There's also a cell phone tower out there, but I don't count that because, well, Cell phone towers are everywhere. So yeah. That's why I don't post anything or show any pictures or anything about the general area that I live in, because you will know exactly where I live if I take any pictures in the outside area. But yes, there is a castle right down the street. I will not show you the castle. It is very well known and easily to track down. Gravekeeper. I see a lot of pictures. That's a survivor, but I don't see. Yeah, again, this is a very long, almost picture book, but there's no thought out to the actual thing. They spent majority of their time trying to make the killer and all of that look good, that they didn't put any thought into their actual concept. This is another classic example. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Killer, picture. The picture is this big, this much space from there all the way up to there is taken up by this huge picture. Why not move this picture to the side, pull up all of this additional information that's around about the same length here, and slap it beside it? Words here, picture to the side. If the picture's too wide and it's taking up all of these, trim it down the sides, scoot it over, take all of this, shove it down the side like that. You would save double the space from here all the way to here. Just move that up. Background, you got a paragraph here and then a word, small sentence. Double spaced, by the way. So when you do this, they're even farther spaced. It ends up being like up to 4 spaces. A lot of space here. The double spaced is what everything's set in. Too huge of a line gap here. One word. Too huge line gap here. Paragraph. Gap. Small word. Here. 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 If you use the paragraph writing system that the form has, you can have all of this put out for you. If you use indentions to show that you're doing paragraphs and all of that, which is a simple press of the tab button. You can start your paragraphs off like that. If you use italicize or any other type of typewriting, you can separate all of this without having to do all of this. If you use the tools available to you, you can condense all of this heavy reading and all of this excess space. There, gone. Here, this got a bit long. Yeah, you can see that it got a bit long, but it's not that it's long, it's that it's not very well compressed. If you compressed all of that together, all of this space here would have been saved up here. All of this would have been about a little bit over half its length. It's not a very long read. It's very short. It just looks long because you have to read and scroll and read and scroll. Again, here's a smaller picture that shows the same thing. I mean, you have the picture here, and now you got a picture here taking up all of this extra space. Find a way to compress all of that. But throughout all of this, we're already from here, scrolling all the way down to here. This is the killer power. You see how small this goddamn power is compared to the pictures and all of this story and background that's wrote out? Even all of this that's wrote out and all here. All of this is filler for this power that's last there. That's it. That's your short description of power. Then he has a secondary power. That's it. We can even add in the extra stuff, which I'm glad, by the way, you put the extra stuff away from the actual power. But this here doesn't need this big gap. to go here, and then another big gap to go here. All you got to do is put this in italicized, move all of this up, move all of this up, and you can separate this by using different fonts and things like that. You don't have to necessarily have double spacing. Even single spacing would suffice. But there's your secondary ability right there. So if you get rid of all of this excess space, which probably doubles the size of all of that from there to there, that you can fit on one particular screen. From there to there is the power and secondary power of that particular killer. Not very well thought out. It's not very well anything. It's very simple. So at the end of the day, you have a storybook killer. The story and all of it can be interesting and everything else, but the gameplay wise, which is what the player is going to have to play through, ain't very well. If you added him into a particular character's tome, like let's say, I don't know, Claudette or Meg or Dwight or something like that, or any new particular survivor that comes out, and they want to add this particular killer into his actual story, it would be great. The background and all of this sounds, good, and something like that. Have a survivor that goes along with it and have him tied into his story. Amazing. Killer wise, very weak, not very well thought out. You have perks. The perks are meh, meh, and then meh. Not very well thought out. Not a lot of time thinking about things or anything like that. You've just listed things. Probably things that you personally would like to see in the game and not even perks that are relative to boosting your killer's power. I don't have to look at that to know. I guarantee you the perks don't help this killer at all and know how his power activates and things like that. I guarantee you don't supplement it. Survivor wise, the survivor has a very short background. Like a very, very, very short background. Actually surprised. I mean, it's a picture. The picture is huge, by the way. All of this origins and everything else, plus the picture is just for reference, can be pushed and put right here beside the survivor. So while you're looking at the survivor's picture, you can see the supporting information. All of this would be pushed up, and if you get rid of all of this, this would just be the only thing beneath her, which makes sense. All of this beside her, all of the background information right here under her. It'd all be compressed nicely, and you'd be able to see the majority of the background and all of the supporting information all as one thing. Compression is key when you're presenting something. Making it long just to make it seem as well thought out and things like that don't work on people that know what you're trying to do. It's just a nuisance. It is bothersome for us. Anybody else that's mediocre, and the majority of the people that read this post is going to be like, damn, this is nice. Look at these pictures. Oh my God, it's so well thought out. It's so long. Look at all the time and effort's been put into this. Oh my God. They're going to look at the power and all of this and be like, man. And by the time they're going to be so tilted from trying to read or skim, most people are going to skim through. They're going to come down to the bottom and say, hey, nice job. Nice concept. And then they're going to move on to the next thing. If she even has comments. No, no type of comments. But you're going to get, hey, nice post. Keep up the good work. A generic response as opposed to constructive criticism because your project is too long. Well, it's too long filling. Compress that shiz. All of this, typical mean girl at college at Canada. I will look at the survivor perks because, I mean, effort has been put in. I mean, this is somebody else's art, obviously, but effort has been put in for the actual survivor. Now, the perks, we're going to find out, but I will, the effort has been put in, so I am going to give credit where credit is due. Survivor wise, also, I'm going to have to scroll. I'll just get rid of the picture. Name, Dina. Gender, female, blonde, blue eyes. Don't know why that matters. Origin, Canada. Background, again, College of Canada. Boon, Eagle Eye. A boon totem that allows any survivor standing within the totem's vicinity to be revealed, I cannot speak, to every other survivor on the map within a 25-meter radius. You have conflicting words there. Allows any survivor standing within the totem's vicinity to be revealed to every other survivor on the map. And then you add within a 25-meter radius. English might not be your primary language, so I'm not gonna harp on you too hard about it, but I mean, judging by the top, the way all of this comes together, the punctuation, everything like that, I am gonna be a little harsher on you about this. Why put to every other survivor on the map and then add in a meter radius? Why not just say a boon totem that allows any survivor standing within the totem's vicinity to be revealed to any survivor within a 25-meter radius? Because this can be spun two ways. This can be spun as this totem having a 24 to 25-meter radius, just rounded up to 25 meters. And if you are within 25-meter radius, your aura is going to be revealed to every survivor. Or this can be a kind of a double whammy type thing, and it's saying exactly what you would assume it do. If you're standing in this totem's radius, any survivor that's within 25 meters of that radius can see you. Either way, both of those effects are completely useless for base game Dead by Daylight. Top. I know there's a bottom. I'll find out what else is going on. As I do my reviews, I go from top to bottom. I go off the first sentence statement, I say what it says, and then I add in what says consecutively. By the end, this perk will be sussed out. Be patient. Now, the survivor inside the boon totem radius gets the ability to see where every other survivor is located. The effect lingers on survivors, leaving the boon area for 3 seconds. Now, any survivor, we now know that any survivor standing within the totem's vicinity can be seen by any survivor that's 25 meters away. However, the survivor that is inside of the effects can see every other survivor on the map. Now, let me tell you why this particular boon is for the most part useless. And I say this a lot, I know. Just run empathy. Empathy gives you what, like 127-meter range or something crazy like that. You can see any survivor that has been injured, aka any survivor that has been recently injured by the killer, any survivor that's been unhooked and not properly healed, or any survivor that's done something in some form, shape, or way to be that's hurting. If you run into a no mither or something like that, you'll see where they are. You only really need to know the locations of survivors on the map that are injured. Because if you can see every survivor on the map and you see that your team's not doing anything, two guys are doing donuts or something in the middle of the map, another survivor's looping killer, and you're the only one working on generators or something like that. Why does it matter? At the end of the day, you're still going to be sitting there doing that particular generator. Unless you say screw it, at that time that perk just tilted you, so there's a negative connotation of the perk if you're going to let that bother you. If not, you're going to be sitting there doing a generator, just sitting there working on it like you generally do as a survivor. Why does it matter where anybody else is and what they're doing? Good version of it, you're going to see the killer running that particular survivor where they're going, and you're going to see the other guys working on generators as well. Let's say it's a gen rush strat. You're going to see three people. Well, you're going to see two people working on generator, one person looping killer. What does this knowledge give you? You already know that one guy's looping killer. You already know that the other two are probably working on generators because that's what you're going to assume. Why does it matter where the other survivors are when the game's in progress? You're not getting any type of benefit from that. And keep in mind, you have to take the 14 seconds to light the boon, and you have to have it within the particular generator that you're working on to get that value. So the boon or the totem has to be by that generator in order for you to get that effect. If not, you're just going to be setting up this particular boon somewhere randomly in the map, and you're going to have to run to that particular boon. And then I ask you again, why are you running to this particular boon to see where other survivors are when you should be going to a generator and doing said generator? It just don't make sense on knowing where all other survivors are. Empathy does that. Any survivor that's getting hit, you can see where that survivor's running to and from and all of that. If the killer's on his butt, then obviously you're going to hear their tear radius and anything else as they're being chased. Because the killer's going to have to eventually swing, which is going to take them out of their undetectable status effect. And if it's Freddy or something like that, of an exception, or a ghost face, which I mean, the swing will take him out of his undetectable anyway. Freddy has the lullaby and things like that. As you're watching that person move around, you're going to see when they're throwing pallets down, which tells you, hey, pallet's been used, things like that. You'll know exactly where they're running. You'll know where the killer is because they're chasing them, etc., etc. When the chase begins, when the chase ends, all of that. Why care about the locations of all the other survivors on the map? Because, I mean, if you're going to run over them to try and help them heal, then empathy's the thing you want to run. If you're trying to stack on generators, you're probably an idiot and probably shouldn't be doing that because you're just going to help them 3-gen themselves even faster. Should definitely be running to a generator away from where everybody else is. And if you happen to just run across a survivor on a generator, help them finish it and keep moving on. Unless they're, just now starting said gen. Then skip it, go to another generator. Generators are posted, all around the map. You're probably going to pass another survivor on your way to get into another generator. What I generally do is I work on a generator on my side of the map, or I immediately go to the middle generator. I either do my side of the map middle generator, or I immediately run to the middle generator and do that to keep 3 gens from happening. Or I do my side generator, then I run to the opposite side of the map, and I do one of those generators to stop the 3 gen from happening. And as gens get completed and things like that, I just pay attention to where the lights and all of that, of the gens being done come from, and I formulate a plan to keep us from being 3 gen. I don't need to know the location of the survivors because there's context clues that show you when a generator is getting done, bam, all good to go. The only time this boon has any type of effect is towards the end of the game if everybody's working on gen, you got 2 survivors working on different gens. You can pop a boon down and you can go and help one of the survivors with gens, but the best strategy in there is everybody to be working at different generators because the killer, it puts maximum pressure on them. All 3 of you stack on one generator and the killer comes in and interrupts you, then you're not going to get that generator done. All of your eggs went into one basket. Now you have 2 undone generators, which survivors generally can't even find at that point because they put all their eggs in one basket. So as said, you want to split up. Have 2 people on one generator and 1 on another generator, or all 3 on separate generators. The only time stacking's really acceptable is if it's a 3rd gen situation, like very close gen situation, and the killer's not really biting and trying to actually go after somebody. Because if one person goes down, they're obviously not going to be able to hook them. So have the guy with, unbreakable or something, or a way to escape or apply pressure or the best looper, etc. Go ahead and, run that particular killer. And if they have unbreakable or something, go ahead and have them try to make the killer stick and take the down. If you have hook, leeway. If you get the killer to chase you for, let's say, 10 seconds to down you, and then it takes them another 10 seconds to get to a hook if you ran in the correct direction and made it difficult for the killer, that's 20 seconds on a gen. If 3 people are on a gen, you can get that shit done in like 33 seconds. So that only leaves 13 seconds on top of that. And that person took a hook. Now that killer can't run after somebody and down them again because it's only 13 seconds on that gen. From that hook, it's going to take X amount of time for that killer to run all the way back to that gen. Then they have to interrupt all 3 survivors on top of that gen. So now you have travel time on there. Generally, you'll get about 5 seconds or so on that, which gives 8 seconds of gen work time between all of the survivors to finish the gen. As survivors get slapped, obviously the time's going to go up from like 8 to 12 seconds and, things like that. But if the survivors stick the generators until they get hit, then you can continue to work it. If that killer tries to pick somebody up, then everybody else just gang bangs that generator. One of you pick the guy up off the hook, the other guy keep working. And if you have enough hook states, you can brute force it. This is the brute force method, by the way, for getting out of a 3 gen situation. If you put enough pressure on that gen, that killer knows they can't go for the hook or they're screwed. So generally somebody will get hooked and then hook can't or face camped just to get that one. Which if you are that person, when you have unbreakable or decisive or something like that to help you out, if you kept it active and you're just crouching by the generator but not actually working on it, you can easily break the killer's grasp. That's 5 seconds of stun that can go towards that generator. So that's still, value plus whatever travel time. And you can use, that and dead hard and everything else to really throw the killer for a loop. So, I mean, use your brain. You don't always have to do the obvious thing that's set out in front of you. Just try to change it up and Essentially, what I'm saying is use your brain. And at no point in time, none of this really matters, actually, to having the ability to see where every other survivor is. Why would I give up a perk slot? Why would I give up, that dead heart slot or any other perks that people particularly run nowadays, a healing slot or anything like that, to run a boon that allows me to see the locations of other survivors? Also, somebody's already brought forth this particular boon. This is not a thought out boon. This is not anything new. This is a boon from somebody else's post that they posted last year that I did a review on. Same name and everything. Boon Eagle Eye. Same boon. I'm assuming they gave that person credit or something in the bottom when they were crediting everybody. If they didn't, they need to go back in and give them the credit that's due to them. But the Eagle Eye I think it was a perk, not actually a boon, but this Eagle Eye perk slash boon is somebody else's concept that's been pulled for them. And I said the same thing. Why would you want to see the locations of all other survivors? Especially healthy survivors. Don't matter whether they're AFK, whether they're messing around or anything like that. You still got a job to do. Do it. Do the gin. If you're not in immediate danger, all of this aura reading is useless. And if you are in danger, you generally don't have time to check. So, why waste the perk slot? Retreat. Whenever you're in a locker, every other survivor and every generator's aura is revealed to you. The effect works in proximity of 55 meters. Now you have two conflicting perks. If I run this perk, why the hell would I run retreat? Or if I run retreat, why the hell would I run that perk? They don't go well together. Your survivor is already basically wrong because its first two perks collide with each other. Why you do this? How does it in your mind you didn't think, oh, well, both of these perks do exactly the same thing? One makes me stay in the vicinity of an area, one makes me stay in place. Who cares about generator's aura? Play the game long enough, you'll know where that is. Learn the map. We're being lazy. Learn the maps. You don't need to know where the generator's auras are if you played the game. Around about, like I said, about a month's worth of playing, you should know your basic loop situation, things you can do to get out, most of the generator locations for most maps, etc., etc. You should have an inkling. Play about a month's worth of Dead by Daylight, and you should have most of it down pat. I don't understand why I would ever want to see any survivor or generator that's within 65 meters of me. Why? And during this time, you're in a locker. You are literally in a locker, not doing generators, not doing anything. Wasted time, wasted value. Just like you're spending 14 seconds here trying to get all of these reads and everything. Wasted time, wasted value. You're spending time in locker. Wasted time, wasted value. And you're not getting any type of reward for it. Oh, I can see where generators are. Well, there's a perk that shows you the 3-gen situation, or the 3 gens that are closest to each other. And every time you complete a gen, it shows you another gen. There's a perk for this that works a lot better, and as gens get completed, it shows them. And not only that, if you're running a map, which, if you're having trouble finding gens, that's the item you want to run because it marks them as you walk by them. But if you're running a map, that perk keeps the other generators marked, so you'll be able to tell exactly where they are. So if you do have some sort of actual, like, mental brain damage or memory issues that you just can't help, there's items to supplement that. There's perks. You run a perk to where you don't need to remember shit. You run a map with that perk, it shows you exactly where the generators are. You run empathy, so if anybody gets damaged, you can see where the killer's located at, and you can see where that survivor's going if they survive the chase. Again, all of your perks should work somewhat similar together, but these two are anti each other. There's perks that also are a lot better for the situation. Deceit. While working on a gen for 25 or more seconds, press E to pause the generator for 30 seconds. Why pause a generator and then the killer can still kick it but doesn't see any pistons move? If any survivor interacts with the gen, it starts up again over the span of 4 seconds. The generator regains its charges. Regains its charges. What do you mean the generator regains its charges? Goes on 1 minute cooldown. Those with a keen eye will be able to spot a wrench stuck in between the pistons on top, indicating that the perk is in play. I mean, if there's going to be a wrench in the top, the killer's going to be able to see that more efficiently than the survivor is. With a faint smoke and subtle hum to those closer than 2 meters. So the killer's going to instantly know what's going on. You're going to have smoke and a wrench coming out of the top. The killer's in first person, the survivor's in third person. I don't think you thought that through. The killer is going to be able to see everything a lot clearer than the survivors are. And if you want to make it readily apparent to a survivor that's in a third person camera, then you're going to have to make it kind of blatantly obvious to them. And if you do that, the killers are definitely going to be able to see that shit and know that the perk's in play. Are they going to care that the perk's in play? Absolutely not. Because you are pausing the generator and apparently getting rid of its charges. You need to further define this. If a killer kicks the generator, does the gen regress? I guess that's what I want to know. I don't know. It's a very weird perk. It needs to be thought out just a little bit more. You might be able to get some sort of useful implementation to it. But stealthing out a generator don't really help you much, because if the killer walks up to a generator that has no progress and they kick it, the jig's up on that perk. Most killers won't even care. We walk by generators, and if we hear that the generator's being worked on, we immediately go and investigate. If it ain't sounding like it's being worked on, we keep moving on to the next perk. We moving on to the next gen and doing whatever it is. Just said, if that generator ain't towards the end of completion, I generally don't care about it. And I only kick gens that I hear survivors working on them and I walk over to. The survivor leaves beforehand as I'm walking by listening. I just continue on to the next gen. I ain't got time to stop and kick a gen to get like 3 seconds of regression for a survivor to just walk back in and touch it. Ooh. Oh no, I dropped it a whole 10%. It's already 90% full. I dropped it back to 80%. Oh no, it's not worth the time. Now, if I know a survivor's nearby, obviously I'm going to kick the gen and then I'm going to go on a hunt like every other killer does. But if there ain't a survivor typically working on it, then, It's not really that necessary of a thing. Now, for Dead by Daylight, pausing a generation and using this type of deceit isn't going to be too savvy. The only thing you're going to be able to do is block said generator. Blocking a generator prevents survivors from working on it for said time, prevents the generator from being regressed, but also prevents survivors from working on it. So what your perk is going to need as a balance to have it anywhere near that type of thing is you're going to have to give your particular character that stops this gen some sort of negative effect relative to that pause 30 seconds. I'm just gonna throw it out to you. If you try and jam something into a running engine, whether it's a car engine or a generator engine or whatever, in this case, it's actually just a car engine that they repurposed to make a generator. You're going to feel something. You're going to feel a special kind of something, especially if it is a generator engine. Generators produce electricity and power. And if you jam something in, especially a wrench, into a generator and you successfully get it stuck, how you can have an open piston generator like that being that big and all of that is beyond me. But, science happens. And you jam something in there, you're going to fuck something a lot more up than that. You are going to be in some sort of specific kind of pain that you ain't gonna like. So, you need to incorporate, bottom line, you need to incorporate some negative effect that the seat gives you. Because, well, being able to stealth a particular generator is kind of OP in like 3 gen situations. Killer goes by to see, what gen survivors are at. You click the button, and then you walk away. Killer comes through, checks, says, "Oh, nobody's working on any of these gens." The next thing you know, the gen pops. Kind of OP. Or your generator's almost done. Killer comes by, you click the button and then run away. Killer runs, checks generator, sees that it has no progress, and continues to move. So you need to incapacitate yourself, give yourself some sort of like jolted new status effect, or using an already existing status effect. Maybe even go the equivalent of taking a health state, depending on how the implementation of this is used, or how the implementation of this is, and find a negative that balances this perk to make it worthwhile in using, but also not too OP. As that, if you put a little more thought into deceit, you can make it into something great. You thanked all the artists, but you didn't thank the person's perk that you ripped off of their thing. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I guess ideas aren't necessarily copyright protected to an extent when it comes to a forum like this. Werewolf chapter concept. Werewolf chapter concept, the tidbits. Definitely should have just put this together instead of going back 2 days later and doing that. Just edit your post. Edit your post. The Undertaker. The Gravekeeper to the Undertaker. He literally just brought this back to light because somebody posted something about a Gravekeeper. He literally was petty and posted something bringing his concept back to light. That's so petty. Let it go, lethargic. Your time's gone and gone. He brought up something That says gravekeeper. It's completely different. A gravekeeper and an undertaker's different people. Believe it or not, it's different jobs. Not going over any of these, by the way. The where chapter concept with the tidbits, all of that should have been posted together, which means they're probably not very long. This is the Undertaker concept versus the Gravekeeper concept. This is something in the past. An idea for a killer. I see Ice Queen. I'm not going over this. It's extremely short. The backstory's right there. This is the power right there. It's very short. Not going to take my time going over that. No thoughts thrown in it, and no thoughts are coming from me, friends. You're going to up your game. Everybody, it's time to either up your game or you're just going to be left in the dust. I understand that you got an idea in your head that you want to get out, but if you're not going to tell us exactly how this idea plays out and put any effort into making that idea into a creation, I'm not going to waste the time going over this. And I would be surprised if anybody from behavior clicks on these and goes over these small looking things like that. That's not going to inspire somebody to create something or even pick up your idea and try and tweak it and make it work for the game, because you're not even taking the time to throw out an idea. For the best clown. Okay, so I'm assuming that's an add-on for clown or something. And then we're back to the top. I'm actually going to click on this so I have a stopping point. There you go. Clown holding them. There we go. And like I said, there has been because this kind of brings me back to another point. There is a YouTuber that used to only do reviews of commenters. Anybody that commented on their particular YouTube channel, he would do reviews in his videos of their killer creations and things. He has since then moved from doing things on his actual comments to actually jumping in on the forum. And he's done a couple of reviews from people on the forum that have particularly asked him to come to the forum. So, him running through anyway, anything that I do is not gonna really, it's gonna be overshadowed. So I'm not gonna waste my time on going over not very well thought up things like that, because I mean, he can easily pick them up while he's doing his streams and videos and everything else and give his 2 cents on that. I'm not going to say his name or anything like that, but those of you that know, you know. Go ahead, check him out, give him some love, support, and all of that. And like I said, any type of long thought out reviews, those are the ones that I'm going to be focused on from here and on out. I'm gotten to the point to where I'm spending 3 hours on reviews. And when I go back and look at my previous content, I'm like, it's literally me just repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over, 3 hours straight, just on different concepts, sometimes on the same concepts. I'm like, that's not good content, and I find myself just skimming through and not even listening to what I'm saying half the time because I already know what I'm going to say. And this is from content way in the past that I don't even remember. So I'm saving you and myself the trouble of going over every single mediocre or short concept. If you want the time of day on a short concept or anything like that, feel free to get a hold of me and I will see what I can do. And we can probably talk privately, or you can send it to me in a message or something like that. And I will send you back whatever I can. But I won't be doing a lot of short concepts anymore. Only the long thought out ones, so you're not going to see very many videos from me. After going on vacation and doing all kinds of other work and getting back into the run of my regular jobs and all of that again, and getting like, an excess of work, I don't have a lot of time to do these anymore on a schedule like that. So, unfortunately, time's limited. So, appreciate anybody that stuck with me through this time, but this might be the pseudo end of this particular chapter on my YouTube archive. So anybody loving the reviews and all of that, I mean, I do recommend you check out some of the other reviews from other YouTubers. They're acclaimed. They got they got a decent amount of subscribers. Some have a lot, but most have a decent amount of subscribers. They also play Dead by Daylight and things like that. They have active community, things like that. So push into them, try to find a community to where, you can get honest reviews, where the guy's chill, knows what he's doing, etc., etc. And fuck it, dude, take your concepts to the extreme. Either way, I am Q, and one of the last times, supplement your lifestyle, and I will see you next time I need to catch up on creations. Peace.